So would I recommend the book? Absolutely. I mean, I know there's my people out there who love a good smutty book, those who probably read 50 Shades of Grey and thought, I'm sorry, I don't get the hype. There's way better smutty books out there. I'm recommending it to you guys. Hi, my name is Cherry Westwell and welcome back to Panic at the Book Club. This week we'll be discussing Over the Moon by Tess Watters. If you'd like to take part in this Panic at the Book Club, then you can find out more information on how via the channel's intro video. We might discuss a book every Tuesday, but I don't expect you to read a book every single week. I list the next 4 books down below and on TikTok, along with the discussion days, so that way you can choose what genre best suits you and the time frame to read it in. I also accept your book feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send me a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, could you send me a direct message on Instagram? Over the Moon follows curvy, plus-size Aubrey Bishop as she navigates her career, her relationships, and of course her feelings towards a certain handsome control freak Wolf. When more is revealed on exactly who Wolf is, will Aubrey run for the hills, or will she choose to be by his side? Just a friendly spoiler warning that if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point, there will definitely be spoilers. All the chapters were a pretty decent length, and it was a pretty easy read. In fact, between visiting some family and doing some travelling, I flew through this book. It was pretty well paced, and it didn't really drag at any point. Each chapter told you whose perspective you were reading from, and for the most part, it was pretty obvious. What I would say is that when you were reading from Wolf's perspective, I think it was quite obvious that it was written by a woman. Like, the character was still quite feminine, but that didn't really interfere with the story. It wasn't really a problem. First things first, I absolutely love not only reading a book about a relatable plus-size character, but a smutty book about a relatable plus-size character. Aubrey is happy to snack on Oreos and pizza and is perfectly happy and comfortable in her curvy, beautiful figure. I think it was a fantastic representation, and it definitely showed that despite all the negative comments out there and the fatphobic, there are certainly people out there who love a curvy figure, and it doesn't make you any less beautiful for having a plus-size figure. It's just nice to have that representation for a change. I think it also challenged stereotypes that all plus-size people only eat junk food and they don't possibly eat healthy foods. I mean, I'm curvy and I love a good chicken salad just as much as the next guy, However, I did have a couple of issues with Aubrey's character. Number 1, towards the end of the book, Aubrey cooks herself a frozen pizza and takes a slice before she goes and settles down. Now let's be honest here for a second. As a plus-size person, I am not about to cook myself a pizza, take a slice and go anywhere. Now you better believe that unless that pizza is of a monstrous size, I am taking that whole thing with me. I will eat that whole thing. Maybe not in one sitting, but like there's no single slice about it. Now my second problem with the book. I get that it was important to the storyline, and I'm sure there are probably people out there, but I don't understand how Aubrey could run so much every day and still be plus size. There are some people out there who do find it tremendously hard to lose weight because of medication, because of thyroid problems, all sorts of reasons. But to me, it just made me relate a little bit less to the character. It just didn't really feel as real. Like, she seemed borderline obsessed with going running every single day, training for this marathon every year. Like, I do love that she didn't feel like she needed to do it for her weight. There were other reasons as to why she was doing it. But it was just a lot of talk about running, and she didn't really seem to have an unhealthy diet either. Like, I'm not saying that as a plus size character she shouldn't have done any. It's just the fact that there was an awful lot of it. Also, I kind of pictured her a little bit shorter. Like, she mentions a few times how she's so short, but I think mentions that she's 5'6". Like, isn't that quite average for a woman? I don't know, I kind of pictured her more my size, like 5'2", 5'3". I did love how just getting out of that damn relationship with Derek gave Aubrey a whole new confidence boost. When you're around someone, whether or not it's friends or family or whoever, who comment on the way you look negatively, whether it's your size or your skin or any other thing that they deem as a flaw, I think you instinctively try and hide that around them. Like, I was angry on her behalf when we found out about Derek cheating on her, but then when you found out that work fired her, I was pissed. But not just for her, but a little bit at her too. Like, I could see this strong woman and she just wasn't doing anything to fight it. But then again, I think that's probably been a reality for many strong people. And it was kind of realistic in that sense. Like, he was pretty high up and, you know, he wasn't exactly known for being a creep. And likelihood is, it probably would have done her more harm than good to say something. But then the shame of not doing something also made her quiet. Not wanting to speak to her family and friends, and no matter how frustrating I found that bit of the storyline to be, I think unfortunately that is a little bit more realistic than we'd all like to think. When they had that discussion about flying first class, and she said that she'd never actually flown that way before, and whenever she went with Derek, whatever his bloody name was, he had always left her and gone in first class himself and left her behind. I was like, how did you not see those red flags? You know? But I think it was summarised quite well when she went on the date. Like, she was looking for someone who that lust and desire and attraction could potentially grow. And I think that's probably what she did with Derek. You know, like, after some time passed, maybe she could learn to love him and vice versa. I loved how the characters were so aware of themselves, like almost reading my mind at times, telling themselves off, or when Wolf was calling himself a creep for sniffing Aubrey's towel, like, yeah, dude, that's a bit creepy. I also really loved the banter that Wolf and Aubrey had between each other. Like, it was funny and it was sweet, and at times it was pretty realistic. Like, at times it felt a little bit like how me and my partner might tease and make fun of each other. I didn't feel like the smutty scenes were too much, and I never felt like they went on for too long. I think that's something that is quite a problem for me if I do read smutty books. I think sometimes if the scenes go on a little bit too long, I just want them to wrap it up and get on with the storyline. But I didn't feel that with this book. But they weren't super short either, and they also didn't have any of those super awkward descriptors that make me want to cringe. Like, the smutty scenes were written quite well, and I imagine that getting that balance right is quite difficult. I just think it was quite a sweet, spicy romance that was written really well and was actually quite funny. And it didn't feed into a whole bunch of stereotypes either. You know, Aubrey has a protective older brother, and for once in a damn book, he was also aware that Aubrey could also look after herself. She didn't need to be coddled or protected. You know, her dad wasn't hiding in the back, not wanting to get involved or being overly protective and making threats. You know, the best friend cared about Aubrey but was in herself her own character and had to put her own needs and feelings first. In some ways it was quite realistic, and although it had some stereotypes, it was refreshingly not jam packed full of them thrown in your face. In some ways, I was a little disappointed that it ended so nicely. Or I guess what I mean is, I was a little disappointed that it ended so finally. You know, I would have happily have read another book or two surrounding these characters. Like, I think the next ones are between Nate and Violet, which you can bet I'll be adding it to my TBR list, but I was still a little sad. So, would I recommend the book? Absolutely. I mean, I know there's my people out there who love a good smutty book, those who probably read 50 Shades of Grey and thought, I'm sorry, I don't get the hype. There's way better smutty books out there. I'm recommending it to you guys. It's sweet and spicy, and let's be honest, full of behaviour that wouldn't really be acceptable in the real world, but for some reason, it's more than acceptable in a smutty book. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Becky said that she could see the author's vision for this book, but unfortunately for her, she just felt like it relied a little bit too much on the spice, and she would have liked the personalities to have come through a little bit more. Next week, we'll be discussing Fourth Wing, so don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday, the 2nd of October at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. The following week, we'll be discussing Beach Read. Now, don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, I do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates, so you can choose which one best suits you. Now, there's also a UK-based competition, Shmivaway, which will dictate what book we'll be discussing at Halloween, and the results will be posted in the video next Tuesday. Now, to find out more information on how you can take part in the competition, head on over to my TikTok or Instagram. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next week. Bye.